So the Camogie All-Stars will be streamed live on Saturday from 7 o'clock on Facebook and YouTube. And to pick her All-Star lineup, delighted to welcome to the show 4-time All-Ireland winner with Wexford and Sunday game analyst Ursula Jacob. And Ursula, Beth Carton and Lorraine Bray have collected All-Stars in the past 2 seasons from a Waterford point of view. Do any Daisha players make your team for 2020?
Yeah, look, it's been a very difficult selection, and one that I've pondered over the last few days, and it's never an easy task picking 15. From a Waterford point of view, I've selected one girl on the team, and it's a girl who's been nominated the last couple of years, but this would be, if she gets an All-Star this year, this will be her first All-Star, so it's Niamh Rockett. For me, she had an exceptional campaign. She's the leader on the field. She's the leader probably off the field too. She's the captain. I just think her performances this year have been, up to a different level again. I think her fitness, I think her strength levels, her aerial ability in the air, and her influence on the pitch alone. In the 4 games from watching, I've seen all the Waterford games this year, right from their first game against Kilkenny to their quarter-final defeat to Tipperary. And Niamh has been someone who, when a score was needed, she put her hand up and got a few vital scores, in particular against Limerick, got 2 great goals, against Westmeath, got another brilliant goal. And, even in the quarterfinal when Waterford were struggling at stages, I felt that Niamh, she's that never say die attitude, and we see that, from her attitude off the field. She's suffered from some serious injuries, probably shouldn't still be actually playing, but somehow she's defying all the odds, and I think she really would be a worthy recipient. So I have her wing forward on my All-Star team anyway.
Yeah, it would be a great story, Ursula, if she'd pick up her first award. Like, she's really been captain fantastic over the past couple of seasons for the Daisha. Who are the other Waterford players in contention for an award in your view?
From my point of view, there's 3 or 4 standout girls. I think Brianna O'Regan in the goal had a magnificent season. In particular, I remember seeing the Waterford Westmeath game, and she made a fantastic save, a penalty save. And Brianne has that kind of those characteristics that you need in a goalie. She's brave, she's confident, she's in her belief in herself, and if a goal goes past her, she never lets the head drop. So I think she's going to come very, very close. I think she had a brilliant season this year, and she launched so many attacks from her distribution of her and her delivery of puck out. So I think she will come close to getting an All-Star, and I think in the coming years she's definitely going to receive one. In the back line, again, Lorraine Bray was very consistent throughout the campaign. Her dart and runs up along that wing back position, and to me, she fully deserving of an All-Star last year, and again, I think she's going to be thereabouts. One of the younger girls on the team, again in the half-back line, for me, Kate Lynch is a really up-and-coming top player in Waterford. I've watched her closely this year, and I was so impressed. And obviously, she's gained massive confidence from, Galtier's success. And, for such a young player, she plays with such confidence. Her delivery into the forwards is brilliant. She's a great striker of the ball, and she's well capable of scoring some points from long distance. So to me, she had a really strong campaign. And then further afield, obviously, as I've mentioned, Niamh, for me, is on the 15 All-Star team. And then again, look at some of Beth Carton's performances this year. They shouldn't go unnoticed. Her score, her free taking, her awareness and involvement of other players around her. The likes of, I felt that her and Niamh really worked well in the forward line this year. But again, Beth had such a massive influence on some of the younger girls like Abby Flynn and Annie Fitzgerald. So again, I can't fault Beth and her performances. She's consistently been brilliant, and she's one of the top players in the game, and she's going to be thereabouts to be named on the All-Star team, but just there was a few others I had ahead of her for this occasion. Waterford have reached the last few quarterfinals, and unfortunately haven't pushed past that, but I still have great belief that this Waterford team, they've loads to offer. And I think if they can get things right this year, I think they can be thereabouts and even push on to a semi-final spot.
Yeah, that's very good to hear. And looking at your team in full, Ursula, let's start off with your number one. Who was your all-star keeper for 2020?
So my all-star keeper is Anya Slattery from Tipperary. I think she had a brilliant campaign. Her first year in the senior goal, only a minor still, so still considered probably very inexperienced at this stage, but the senior performances didn't seem to shake her or daunt her in any way. And something like, I just remember against Waterford in that quarter final, the save she made on Bet near the closing stages of the game was so vital. And, very cool under pressure. And again, a great delivery of the ball when she's, in possession. So Anya, to me, is fully deserving of that. And again, she made some penalty saves in the semi-final against Galway. So I think she'll just edge the goalie position for me.
And who makes up your defence, Ursula?
Yeah, so in the full back line then, I've went for two Galway girls in the full back line, Shauna Healy and Sarah Dervin. And then to complete the full back line is Davina Tobin. Shauna, is one of the nominees for the Senior Player of the Years this year. She was an All-Star recipient in 2019 as well. And she's one of the toughest, tightest marking defenders in the game. And she's consistently been one of Galway's probably unsung heroes in some way, but a really strong defender and fully deserving, I think, of her cornerback position. Sarah Dervin, a captain leader of Galway. She's already won 6 All-Stars, so it would be a phenomenal achievement if she can win her 7th All-Star this year. She's just such a strong defender. I've marked her many occasions, and she's one of the toughest players to beat, to win possession. And Davina Tobin then from Kilkenny does a lot of the behind the scenes work that sometimes people maybe don't recognise or see. She's a great man marker. In the semi-final in particular was a highlight for me. Her job was to follow Amy O'Connor from Cork right around the field, and she didn't give her an inch. My half-back line then, I've went for Hannah Looney from Cork, wing-back, Claire Phelan from Kilkenny, centre-back, and Grace Walsh from Kilkenny, wing-back. So Hannah, probably when she started off her career, she would have been more further up the field in the forwards. But in the last couple of years, she's pushed back into defence. And I think she really is working so effectively here. Probably going to be the type of player who's going to replace a Gemma O'Connor role on this Cork team. Her strong runs up and down the field, she's able to cover a huge amount of ground. She's a dual player. And I think she should be fully deserving of the All-Star. Claire Phelan, I have her placed at centre-back, but this year she went between full and centre-back, and going in the semi-final, going back in full-back, and even in the final in full-back, she had a brilliant performance. She's a really strong defender, and she was an All-Star recipient at centre-back in 2019 as well, so it'll be a great achievement to do the double. Grace Walsh, again, she's a fantastic player, comes from a family full of talent, and I think she has been one of the key reasons as to why Kilkenny won the All-Ireland last year. She defensively, Kilkenny are very strong, but Grace epitomises this defence, and she's a brilliant hurler as well. And it was great to see in the final how she pushed up the field, up to midfield, and got a brilliant point. And she won an All-Star in 2018 as well, and she's also nominated for Senior Player of the Year. For a defender to be nominated for a Senior Player of the Year award is a brilliant achievement, because sometimes it's the forwards that get all the glory, but it's nice to see a defender being recognised for her performances, and Grace had a brilliant year this year.
Oh, she certainly did, and she gave an absolute tour de force, as you mentioned, Ursula, in that All-Ireland final against Galway up in Croke Park. Moving on to the midfield then, plenty of contenders here from Cork, from Galway, from Kilkenny, from Tipperary. Who are the two that you've gone for?
Yeah, you're right, and there was huge competition here for positions, but the two players I went with was Chloe Sigerson from Cork and Karen Kendi from Tipperary. So Chloe, she's so important to Cork's running game. She's brilliant at collecting possession and then offloading it to someone running beside her off the shoulder. A dual player as well, a fantastic striker of the ball. And in the semi-final against Kilkenny, she was one of the key Cork players. who kept Cork in the game, between her free taking. She got 3 fantastic points from play. And she's one of the best strikers of the game off her right and left hand side. She's deadly accurate from frees, and I think she'd be fully deserving of this award. Karen Kennedy then makes up the second pairing of the midfield, and Karen, she's probably after coming into this Tipperary team in the last couple of years, but to me she was brilliant right from their first game against Clare up until their semi-final against Galway. And she's one of these girls I'm talking about, her versatility. She started some of the games centre back, and she kind of seemed to intertwine with Niamh Tracy between midfield and centre back. So for me, the reason I suppose I picked her midfield was I felt that's where she was most effective this year. Against Waterford in that quarter-final, her goal proved the difference, really. She got player of the match that day, and she's a brilliant hurler as well. And I like her attacking style of play. I like her confidence on the ball, and she is ferocious in the tackle, so I think she'd be fully deserving midfield.
And turning to the attack, Ursula, we already know that Niamh Rockett takes up one of those positions, but who fills the other 5?
Yeah, so as I said, Niamh is named number 10 for me. Centre forward, I have Anne Dalton from Kilkenny, and wing forward, I have Aoife Donoghue from Galway. So Anne Dalton, look at as she's obviously recently retired, and she's going to be a huge loss to the Kilkenny team for the coming year. She's been Senior Player of the Year in 2009 and 2018, and that just shows her consistency over the last kind of decade to 12 years. She's received already 6 All-Star awards, but to me, she is such an influential player, and if Anne Dalton is playing well, she seems to bring in, has that influence on the rest of the players around her, and you can't underestimate the influence she can have on a team. And I've played with her in WIT, I've played against her with Wexford, and if Anne Dalton's playing well, it usually means Kilkenny are going well. And this year again, in that semi-final against Cork, her goal in the first half, when it looked like Cork were dominating that game, she just picked the ball out of the sky and, buried the ball in the back of the net. And she just has such vision, awareness. She always finds herself in the best position, and she's a great point taker as well. And she's very unselfish with her play. She's very unassuming, and she's always, as I said, I think she's a great influence on some of these younger girls in the Kilkenny setup this year. Aoife Donoghue from Galway, probably more accustomed to playing midfield the last couple of years, but this year she kind of went between midfield and half forward, and that's why I've selected her a half forward. She's a brilliant player for covering so much ground, very athletically fit. She's brilliant at getting herself into a position to get a goal. I saw against Wexford at the start of this year how she crept in for a goal. Against Offaly as well, she did something similar. And for a girl who's so small in stature, there's so much fight, there's so much aggression in a positive way in Aoife. And she's, a really top-class player. She's won 3 All-Stars already, so it'd be great if she could, finish the last year with another All-Star.
And I presume Denise Gall, the match winner in the All-Ireland final, is in your inside trio, Ursula?
Yeah, well, look at, I suppose, the inside line then, it didn't get any easier as I went along anyway. So who I went with for the full forward line was Orla McGrath from Galway, Denise Gall, as you mentioned there, full forward, and Aoife Doyle from Kilkenny, the other corner. So Orla McGrath for Galway, I suppose she started last year in a massively positive manner by winning the Senior Club All-Ireland with Sarsfields of Galway. And I think she continued her good performances throughout the year with Galway. And she, probably at the start was only coming back late into the setup and found herself only coming on. But as the year went on, she became one of the most dangerous and lethal forwards on that Galway team. Her pace alone, her skill level is phenomenal. As you mentioned, Denise Gall, up for Senior Player of the Year again. She scored 337 in 5 games. That's averaging 9 points a game. She's nominated for the Senior Player of the Year. She got that vital goal that probably won the All-Ireland for Kilkenny. And she, she was so cool in taking that. Her body language, watching her that evening take that penalty. She knew exactly where she wanted to put that goal, where she wanted to put that ball. her influence from, open play, from free taking, she's deadly accurate. I've played with her as well in WIT, and she's a great character on and off the field, and she's someone you want in a dressing room with you. If you're feeling nervous or maybe anxious, she's someone who kind of keep you calm and keep you relaxed. And I think, I'd be tipping her for probably Senior Player of the Year as well, because I think she had such an influence on this Kilkenny team. And her scoring every day has been massive. So, Denise, full forward. And then to make up my final player on my All-Star team would be Aoife Doyle from Kilkenny. So Aoife, would have come on in the All-Ireland final in 2019 and then found herself on the team this year. So it was a great progression across the year. Each game she seemed to be getting better and better, and she's steeped in an athletics background, so she's very fast, very pacey. And in the semi-final and final in particular, she won some vital balls. In the semi-final against Cork, she won a vital free towards the end that really pushed Kilkenny forward. In the final, obviously she got 4 super points, probably could have got in for a goal, and she was the player of the match. And I think, what a story, really, your first Senior All-Ireland to start, and you score 4 points on play and you go away with the player of the match. And I think she's a great future ahead of her. I think she's going to be one of the stars for Kilkenny, and, I think she's fully deserving if she does receive an All-Star.
Ursula Jacob, 4-time All-Ireland winner with Wexford. Thanks so much for your time this evening.
No problem.
Well, thanks so much for tuning in. There will be a big interview with Michael Ryan about his new book, The Road from Ballymac, on Saturdays On The Ball with Nigel Kelly, so do tune in for that. Until next time, slán go fóill.
Now you're hurling. Lorna Porca with Tomás McCarthy on WLR.